Okay, and we are now live. Thank you to all of the classes who are joining us today throughout Ontario for our November ONED Student Chat. This month, we're proud to be hosting an event during Media Lit Week, and we'd like to begin by thanking Media Smarts for inviting us to host an event and for all of their support. If I could just, oh, that's perfect, thank you. I just want to move forward with a brief overview of ONED Student Chat before we kick things off. ONED Student Chat is a student-led Twitter chat that connects K-12 students across Ontario to discuss topics and questions related to character education, social justice, and citizenship. ONED Student Chat creates opportunities for students to network with others, gain perspective, build relationships with new learning partners in a literacy-rich learning environment, experience social media as a powerful platform for learning, and establish a positive digital footprint. All of that right here. So thank you again for joining us. I would like to turn things over now to Brock, who's going to kick things off with our tech talk and explain how you can join us on YouTube and on Twitter. Brock?
Yeah, so if you're watching us on YouTube, which is an option, just tap on the YouTube icon. You will notice that there's a comment space to your right. This is a great way for you to share your own thoughts and ideas and to add your thinking and get involved in the conversation. Or you can watch the video from the website and chat with us and all the participants on Twitter. So you got to follow the ONedSsChat to read the ideas, thoughts, questions shared by others, and use the ONedStudentChat hashtag to add your thinking and get involved in the conversation. If you ask any questions, I'm going to be looking at everything, so I'll bring it to the panel. And just please remember that the audience for this chat is K-12. So try to keep your comments and questions appropriate for all ages. And that's about it. Looking forward to seeing you online.
Awesome. Thanks, Brock. And we are now going to go through our panel and introduce all of these fabulous people that have come to join us today. I'm going to start with our student team, and then we'll move on to our guest panelists and our expert who's here today. Sam, why don't we start with you?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sam. I go to North Perth Westfield Elementary School, and this is my second year doing this.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. And Darcy.
Hi, I'm Darcy. I attend GDCI, which is in Goderich, and it's a part of the AMDSB school board, and this is my first year as a student lead.
So happy to have you here. And I want to welcome our newest student lead to ONED Student Chat, Gobi. Please take a moment to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Gobi. I'm a grade 8 student from Bell High School in Ottawa, and this is my first ONED Student Chat, and I'm really excited to have somewhere to share my voice.
Well said. Very well said. And Brock?
Oh, I'm Brock Baker. I'm a teacher out of Bowmanville, Ontario, and I'm just so pumped to have Media Literacy Week and all the guest panelists. So yeah, let's go.
Awesome. Thanks, Jen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Casa-Todd, and I am a teacher librarian at Cardinal Carter Catholic High School in Aurora, and I am joining with a group of students, so I'll get them to say hello. Hello! And we are excited to be here today. Thanks for having us.
Wonderful. And my name is Lee Castle. I'm an education and innovation consultant, currently working as the manager of innovation and learning at Spark in Niagara. And I'm also founder of Digital Human Library and super excited to be here today. And now I'm going to introduce our special guests who are joining us. Why don't we begin with Helen, and I'll let you go ahead.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here to share this conversation. I am an instructor at Lakehead University in Orillia. I teach teachers how to use and deconstruct media and digital literacies. So I'm very excited to listen to this conversation more than anything else.
Wonderful. Thank you. And last but not least, we have a student guest joining us, and I am so excited that you're here. Logan, you go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right, well, my name is Logan Feroy. I'm a student at Geraldton Composite High School, but I'm from a town, Jellicoe, which is 2 hours up north, and it's a small town of about 30 people. So I'm very excited to be here, and I'm a student trustee for the Superior Gainesville District School Board and a student counselor for the Greenstone Municipality. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Great. We are so grateful. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. So, Sam, I'm going to turn things back over to you if you want to go through the norms for our chat today, and then we will kick things off with hopefully Rylan will be here. Go ahead, Sam.
Okay, so a few of the norms we have is that we have about 20 minutes to discuss one or more questions. Please be mindful again that this chat is open to students in kindergarten to grade 12. We want active participation from classes who are watching. All comments made during the chat should be positive and productive. And everybody is entitled to their own opinion. You may not agree with something someone has said, but we ask that when challenging an idea, you respectfully disagree with the idea, not the individual person.
Wonderful, thank you. And we were so hoping to have Rylin here. I know that there are Remembrance Day assemblies happening all across the province, and her assembly is running late. So I'm going to go ahead and share something that she prepared just to kick things off today and just to get our minds thinking around the idea of fake news, which is the topic that we're going to be exploring today. And so Rylin put together just an overview of fake news to lead us into our first conversation. So I'm just going to go ahead and read what she'd prepared for today. Our tweet and talk today is about fake news. Fake news, simply explained, is a story that isn't entirely true or true at all. Fake news is when someone or a company or organization makes something up that isn't real to either trick people into thinking a certain way about something or someone. For example, fake news might spread about someone or a group of in a political battle to hurt their campaign. Fake news could also be an outrageous rumor spread about a celebrity in the hopes of ruining their reputation. Or fake news could simply be started as a joke or satire that was taken way too seriously by the media or over-exaggerated or misinterpreted. As digital citizens, it's very difficult to crack down on all the fake news articles and satire content, but we can fact-check the truth to inform what we read online. Very well done, Rylin, and I wish you were here to share that, but thank you. So I'm going to turn things over now to Darcy, who's going to introduce the first question we're going to discuss today. Darcy?
So the first question we have today for our tweet and talk is, what makes fake news so believable?
All right, so who would like to kick things off? All right, Gobi, go ahead.
What makes fake news so believable is that it's made to sound like reality. Fake news can come from sources that people find reliable, and they can be something that you really thought would happen and phrased in a way to make it sound real.
Interesting. Does someone want to comment on that? Yeah, go ahead, Logan.
I believe that what makes fake news so believable is that it's like confirmation bias. If you already have an idea in your head and then you see a news article or something like that that supports that, like let's just say someone doesn't like a political candidate, and then they see an article that's bashing that political candidate and making up lies about them, they're gonna be like, I knew it, right? And then they're gonna share that information with all their friends and everything like that, and that's how it spreads, right? Without actually taking a look at the article, hypothetically, potentially, right? So yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I like the term that you used, confirmation bias. That's very interesting because we do often approach a situation with our own preconceived notions of, or that bias, as you said. And when we read something that confirms that, it's very easy for us to then move forward and share that without taking the time to actually explore the facts first. That's great point. Sam or Darcy?
I also think that sometimes fake news can be targeted towards certain crowds or kids. So they might do things to make you feel like it's so true, and they might even bring up things you care about. And I feel like that's when people start to panic, and then that's when it starts to spread rapidly. So I think that's a scenario too.
Mm-hmm. Can you give an example? Do you have an example off the top of your head?
So maybe it's, let me just think. So maybe it's like about, so maybe there is, like you hear about kidnapping, for example, and it was like maybe like a really intense case. But for kidnapping, like people would like lure people in with like, oh, like they would tell them lies to lure them in, but it's all based towards children. So like if children like candy, you might say like, oh, we have candy or something like that. It's kind of the same thing that's happening online, but it's not as severe. That's like an example.
So if I may interpret and revoice what you said, that it's a way to lure, right? I feel like that's what the idea that you're getting at is. It's how we lure people in to push an agenda or to make sure that something we want gets done regardless of the consequences. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Rylin, thanks for joining us. We're just talking about that first question. If you want to have a sec to get settled, Helen or Jen, is there someone in your class that wants to jump in? No, Helen, no? Okay. Rylan, did you want to answer the first question?
Yeah, I don't have it open. Can you repeat
Sure.
it?
Yeah, so we're talking about what makes fake news so believable.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So to me, what makes fake news so believable is they use a lot of, like, fake news sites they might use like big words, or they'll make their name believable. So like if they use like Fox News, they might change it to like, I don't know, like Wolf News or something, to make people think, oh wait, I've heard about a news site that's an animal news, so then they might believe that one's believable. And they'll attract the reader. They'll use like big colors, or they'll use different fonts, and it'll make it stand out compared to everything else.
Right. So what I hear you saying is that they, when people create fake news, they try to align it with something that we're already familiar with, which makes it more believable because there is that that perceived familiarity. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Helen?
Yes, actually, I was just thinking that a lot of fake news, once one person takes hold of it and retweets it or reposts it, then it becomes even more believable. So my trusted friends may be posting things that are ultimately fake news, but I'm trusting that it's the truth because it came from people that I know and people that I believe, you know, would know if it's fake news or not. So it's hard to kind of tease out whether it's true or not because it's coming from presumably trusted sources.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Brock, I'm not sure what's happening on Twitter or on YouTube right now, but I'm looking at you and wondering what's being said, especially in response to Helen's point there as well.
Yeah, I'm having some Wi-Fi issues here, but taking a look, Media Smarts has come in and sort of confirmed this confirmation bias, this element of, you know, misinformation is most believable when it confirms something we want to believe. So we have to be really extra skeptical and careful when we see something that we think might be just too good to be true. Yeah, and also just how good production value, like everything looks really good online. So we have to be careful of the pretty picture and sort of dig a little bit below the surface. And that was from Kobe Villeneuve.
Yeah, excellent point. I wasn't thinking about how pretty how pretty things are online and how deceiving that can be. Does anyone else want to add anything before we move on to the next question?
Yeah, I have one thing to add.
Perfect.
Sometimes people will make a website that it uses like CBC News as its title, and then it looks a bit different than the regular website, but then it tricks people into thinking, oh, they just redid their website. They changed how they're doing things on this website. And that is a way that people can, it's how they do it sometimes as well.
Yeah, I thought Rylan was mentioning almost the same thing as that, Sam, in terms of, you know, the believability, because it's just, you know, one little element that's different. Wolf News versus Fox News, or CBC versus capital C, capital B, capital C, and it's just those little things that people will do to create that sense that it's the truth, but it really is fake. Like, you know, the Prime Minister of Canada's Twitter account versus small PM Canada.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone else? That's a great point. Okay, let's segue that, Helen. Thank you. Right into question number 2, Darcy.
So our second question is, how do you evaluate a website to detect fake news?
Okay, so how do we know? How do we know? What should we do? Who'd like to start?
I can start, actually.
Perfect.
I have an idea.
Great.
So I think being able to detect fake news mostly is being a responsible and a good researcher. So what I would always check multiple sources, especially if you aren't familiar with the name of the source. Also, sources who are experts, for example, like davidsuzuki.org, where you know it's directly written by him, so like an official source. Common names like National Geographic. And when you look it up on Google search, does the word ad pop up on the side? Because I think that's can also be like a way that people like will trying to advertise their stuff, like they'll go full out, like no consequences. And also at the very end of the link, is it org.com.ca? Because sometimes people can get a hold of different ones. Like anyone can make .com, but not everyone can do .gov, because that has to be only government. So knowing where your resources are directly coming from.
Wow, I almost want to give you like the mic drop there. That was amazing. So many great ideas, right? Checking multiple sources. And it really comes down to what you said, I think, about being a great researcher and understanding where your content is coming from. Knowing how to read a URL, Darcy, is so important today. And it's a skill set that I don't know how many students and adults either have that skill set or understanding of how to read different parts of a URL and recognizing which spaces are reputable and knowing how to know. Who'd like to continue on?
I actually have something to add. And Darcy, everything that you said resonates so much. This past week, my mother actually was duped by a fake website. And so the thing I would add to that, as an elderly person, maybe double checking. If you're not quite sure, asking somebody else. And then that critical lens, I kept saying, Mom, if you had only asked me. So this is a real thing. And for some people, it can impact them negatively. So we do have to double check.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jen. Logan, you go ahead.
I was thinking that, like, when you evaluate a website to detect fake news, is looking at the language that they're using, right? Saying if they're stretching the truth, or they're making it look really bad, or they're trying to downplay it too, right? Just analyzing that and seeing like who would benefit from the article that's being written. That too, and just keeping in mind of where it's coming from is where you can evaluate fake news and where, yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent point, especially when you start talking about who benefits, right? Who's the audience? Who's the intended audience? And I think that's excellent point. Gobi or Sam or Rylan? I think Sam. You go ahead, Gobi, and then Sam will come to you.
Okay, just adding to that, maybe you just like see what evidences might be like missing or like conveniently left out, or like what kind of content it is, and like how is it being proved, because sometimes some information might just be left out to make it really prove their own point.
Another excellent question. Exactly. What is missing? And I like that how you phrase that, conveniently left out, right? It's very easy to push your agenda and not share information on the other side of an argument, for example, to make sure that your point comes across loud and clear. Very well said. Sam?
No, I'm not too sure about this, but some sites, so most sites have this little lock icon just beside the link, and some don't. So I think more of the more reliable ones that I've been looking at have the lock beside them, and then I've seen a few that don't, and some that I haven't really heard of.
Helen, I'd like to defer that to you. What's been your experience with that? I'm not as familiar with that. Sam, I appreciate you bringing that up and sharing that.
I believe the lock is just that it is a more secure site, that it's built within a secure hub or repository.
Right.
And there's some issues now with the difference between HTTPS versus HTTP, which is not secure. And you'll find a lot of sites with just HTTP that are not secure. And it'll come up saying it's not secure if you're using a Chrome browser.
Right, and I wasn't sure if Sam was referring to that security certificate on a website, and that's a great point, Sam. It's something to look for, especially if you're being asked to share your data, right? To create an account, to register. If that site doesn't begin with HTTPS, then your data may not be secure, and it may not be a space where you want to share. Logan, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure, actually.
Perfect.
Going on Gobi, I think that's yeah.
Yep.
Awesome, yeah. Gobi kind of touched on this and really said it, but I want to really expand on that too, right? Especially in today's day and age with a lot of politics in that too, is people omitting the truth to push their own agenda. And really, if you're reading an article that's more left-leaning, I'll look to the other side of it. Look to the other side, like read a more right-wing leaning article so that you can see if the information matches up. Because if they're saying the same thing, then it must be true, right? Especially if, they're both trying to push that agenda all the time. But if they're saying the same thing, then they're probably telling the truth. But if both accounts are so different, then something is going on, right? So you got to do a little bit more research into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it comes back to what was said earlier on about recognizing bias, right? Being able to see that only one side of an argument or a topic has been presented and that something's missing, right? And I think it's approaching everything with skepticism today, I think. And that relates to what Jen was saying too. And checking, make sure you have someone that you check in with when you aren't sure. And maybe it's not even about you not being sure. I think there's benefit to using the internet, always in collaboration with someone else, right? You have that collaborative other to bounce those ideas and ask some of those questions that you may have missed. I'm going to ask Darcy to go ahead and move on to the next question. Darcy?
Sure. Okay. So our third question is, responsibility is the ability to respond to a situation. What can you do if you find fake news online?
All right. Who'd like to lead things off?
I can.
Great. Thanks, Sam.
So I think this is the most obvious answer. Report it. Report it to Google. Report it to, report it to your browser, and they can look after it from there. And yeah, that's basically it. I also did a bit of research on the little lock icon, and it does mean it's a secure website, and it's more secure if it's a green lock, apparently.
Interesting. And how do you know that the site you're looking at is trustworthy? I'm putting you on the spot.
I don't know. There's a big long paragraph. I haven't read it yet, but.
Perfect. So what steps are you going to take to check to see if that site that you're looking at is trustworthy?
Well, check to see if there's the padlock and check the URL.
Yep, check the URL and who's the author, right? You can check the author of the site as well, right? So you know whether it's a reputable source, and the hyperlinks are also a great way to check and see if that site is valid. Nice job, Sam. All right, so aside from reporting it, what other ideas can we share out there? I think that's the number one, right? There are lots of people you can report that to. Mm-hmm. What else can you do? Gobi? And then Logan.
And maybe just spreading the word that it's fake, specifically to maybe people older than you who don't really know how to use technology and see if it's really reliable. And also maybe, like, when you do that, you would probably be helping someone else who can't tell it's fake know it's fake.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a really great point. Logan, I'll turn things over to you.
Yeah, like Gobi said, right? If you see fake news, the best thing you can do, in my opinion, is don't spread it around. And say, if you have the opportunity to, just say, this site, it's not very reputable. Like, don't trust it as much, and then don't spread that news. Like, don't spread it around, because then it becomes like a wildfire and it just goes everywhere. And you can't really take it back. So yeah, and reporting on Facebook or reporting on Twitter, like having those sites. Mm-hmm. Like it's really good if you see those articles being shared.
Yeah, it's a great point.
Just to jump in to what you just said, Logan, Tala from Miss Vanderwall's Sevens class, she likened fake news as a virus. And so that analogy really works well with what you just said there, Logan, right? Let's not spread it and let's be preventative. So thank you for that contribution, Tala.
Yeah, is there anything else, Jen, that you want to pull in from Twitter or YouTube? I'm not sure which one you're looking at right now. No? Okay. Okay, yeah, no problem. And Brock, I am going to come to you in a few minutes, so get ready.
Can I jump in?
Absolutely.
So on the whole, like, report it, don't spread it around. You especially don't want to like screenshot it and repost it or just retweet it, because sometimes people don't read your caption saying like, oh, this is fake news, don't trust it. They might just see the original post and they'll see it and then they'll believe it and not realize that you're trying to say it's fake news. Sometimes it's best to just report it, ignore it, and then leave it alone.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Darcy, did you want to add anything? And then Helen, I'm going to pop over to you.
A lot like the others were saying, like, you don't want to heat the fire. Don't retweet it, don't like it, don't comment on it. And if someone brings it up, shut it down. I would say that the fake news is really major. For example, you're worried that the fake news might be luring in people or is serious. For example, it's like claiming rude rumors about the person. I would take a screenshot, tell an adult, or report it on the site. So a lot what everyone else was saying.
Yeah, great point. Helen?
Yeah, I would say another caution, if you do address something that is fake news or that you see as fake news, make sure that the people that you're addressing it to don't come back to haunt you or hurt you, and deal with it. A couple of other people have said, just report it to the organization where that fake news was posted, first of all, and then address it with your trusted friends if they bring it up as if it's real news. And you can address it very subtly that way, without putting yourself at risk to be, trolled and harassed online.
I completely agree.
Yeah, that's a great point, Helen. That's a really great point. As soon as you start to address it publicly, you do put yourself in harm's way. So reporting it to someone that you trust in a way that maybe is more private. That's a great point. Brock, do you have anything you want to bring in from Twitter sphere or YouTube?
From Twitterland, we have a lot of similar comments that are really good. So Reed Russet talked about how what makes fake news so believable is how quickly it gains traction, and once the word starts and you hear it again and again, it's like everybody said, it's a wildfire or a virus, and we got to shut that down. There's a really interesting thought when it comes to our responsibility when we find fake news. Ben Ivan suggested and wondered, I think Sam brought up this verified sign of trusted sources, and he was wondering, couldn't YouTube or Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, couldn't all these platforms, couldn't they easily solve a lot of these problems by having a verification system where you have trusted sources? And that sort of brings up this idea of how much responsibility do we have to put pressure on those platforms to make sure what they're allowing to happen is true and trustworthy. So those are the big takeaways from Twitter right now. If I see more, then I'll put it in my hand.
Amazing. And Darcy, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I was doing some researching on fake news by reliable sources. And I found a reliable source, NBC News, and they said a new study shows that fake news spreads further and faster than true news on Twitter. So I just thought that was really interesting.
That is really interesting. And kudos to you for doing some checking in the background as the conversation is happening. Yeah, that's a great point. Sam, you wanted to jump in?
Yeah, back to what Brock said, Twitter does have a verified icon. If you see the little check mark with a blue circle around it, that is Twitter's verified check mark. So if you're getting, all news sites should have the verified icon if they are posting on Twitter.
That is an excellent point. And I actually went to look at verifying ONedSsChat. Interesting that you said that, but it's not a service that Twitter's offering right now. Helen, do you know Do you know if that, no, you're not sure? I'm not sure when, if or when that's coming back online. Maybe Media Smarts can answer that on Twitter. That would be great. But yeah, that's a great point, Sam. And I think, Brock, the point that you brought in from Twitter about, yeah, it's got my mind thinking what an incredible service that would be for sites to have to go through some sort of vetting process to receive some kind of accreditation. Is that the right word?
Yeah, a quick comment. I read an article a couple days ago talking about the idea that if you made everything public in terms of what you posted, and people sort of could comment on the trustworthiness of your posts, you could have sort of a credibility rating go along with, you know, your name. So that way they're just like, you know, when you know people face to face, you get to really understand if they're a trustworthy person because you can sort of follow up on what they've done. That way there, I mean, it takes away some of the anonymity that social media platforms offer, but it would bring a certain element of trustworthiness back if everybody sort of knows, you know, everything you've ever posted and how trustworthy that stuff was.
Right, and that's about building your digital persona. And I know I'm speaking Helen's language now. And Logan, you had something you wanted to add?
Yeah, it's just on well, two things. If we're starting with Brock's comment or statement about having that trustworthiness. If I understand correctly, he said like having people rate your trustworthiness online, right? Is that? But when
kind of, yeah.
Yeah, but wouldn't that kind of open news sources and all that up to opposition or out to opposition and trolls just going spamming, this is not trustworthy, this is not trustworthy, even though, you know, like, you know what I mean?
To some degree, there would definitely have to be a system in place where maybe you have an organization that verifies news stories like Snopes or something, and it sort of tracks back all of the articles or anything you reposted. So it'd be a third party that would be doing that verification, not just your friends and family, I guess, and trolls.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. That's a lot more doable, I think. Yeah.
Good point.
System.
Yeah, it's a great question. Good point.
And may I continue?
Yes. Yep.
What Darcy had said earlier about how fake news spreads faster than the real news. I think that's because a lot of the times in our instant gratification sort of society nowadays, where we just read the headlines, and sometimes headlines are purposely misleading, and we read them and we go, wow, that's really interesting, I want to share this, right? And we go tell everybody. So, and fake news a lot of the times has a lot more interesting of headlines compared to real news, which could be potentially boring, but to put it harshly, right? So the fake news would spread a lot faster because of that instant gratification that a lot of us have when reading the news.
Yeah, Jen, sorry, I wasn't sure, Jen, if you were showing us something. Okay, all right. Rylan?
I have something to add on to Darcy.
Sure.
So the point that she made about it spreading like wildfire, there was this whole, I'm sure maybe some of you have heard about it, about Justin Bieber eating the burrito the wrong way. And this really interested me because I'm like, oh, that's weird. That's okay, whatever. And then I was scrolling through YouTube and I found this video that said, we faked the whole Justin Bieber story. And basically what they did was they got a guy that looked like Justin Bieber, took pictures of him eating a burrito wrong, and then posted it and said, Justin Bieber can't eat a burrito. And it spread like wildfire, and every news article was talking about it and every radio station. And it just blew my mind that like, it's not even real, but everybody believed it.
Yeah, and I think what blows my mind is that people care that Justin Bieber eats burritos. Let's take a look at it that way. But you make a very good point, and I think it speaks to what Jen was saying about the virus. This idea of a virus that just takes over and is all consuming, right? And yeah, not taking the time again to check and verify. And I'm unfortunately looking at the time, and I would love to sit here and carry on this conversation, but we have to wrap things up today. So on that note, incredible conversation today, so rich and so powerful. Thank you to everyone who joined us on panel today. Just so you know, everyone who's watching, our slow chat continues for the rest of the month. So you can watch for OnEd Student Chat posting a question a day. All the questions are posted on our website. You can find us at OnedSsChat.com, or you can find us on Twitter at OnEdStudentChat. Please also watch for information coming soon about our next chat on December 11th. We'll be posting the Twitter poll on Monday, so please vote, vote, vote for the topic that you want to discuss in December. Again, thanks for joining us. It was a great chat today, and we will continue the conversation online. Bye, everybody.